Hey there, welcome to Data Semantics 360. In this video, we're going to explore how you can get better visibility into what's happening inside your Microsoft Fabric environment. If you've worked with Fabric or even Power BI, you've probably noticed that monitoring is spread across multiple places. You have capacity metrics, usage reports, admin APIs, activity logs, and sometimes even external tools, but nothing that really gives you a complete, unified picture in one place. And that's exactly what we're going to address today. We're going to explore something called FUAM. FUAM stands for Fabric Unified Admin Monitoring. It's an open-source solution that brings all of this information together into a single, unified layer. It doesn't just give you dashboards, it actually builds a full monitoring system inside Fabric using pipelines, notebooks, Lakehouse storage, and a semantic model. So instead of jumping between tools, you get one centralized place where you can monitor activity, track usage, analyze performance, and understand your entire Fabric environment. What makes FUAM really powerful is the kind of data it collects. It pulls tenant settings, activity logs, workspace metadata, capacity details, refresh information, and even Git connections. That means you can answer both high-level and very detailed questions about your environment, from who is using Fabric, to what assets exist, to what changed over time, and where performance issues are happening. Now let's go ahead and actually set this up step by step. We start by creating a dedicated Fabric workspace. The idea here is to isolate everything related to FUAM so it's clean and easier to manage. We create a workspace, name it FUAM, and most importantly, assign it to a Fabric or premium capacity, because FUAM relies on Fabric native components like pipelines, Lakehouse, and semantic models. Next, we create a service principal in Microsoft Entra ID. This service principal is what FUAM will use to authenticate and call Fabric and Power BI admin APIs. Without this, it cannot extract any data. We create a new app registration, generate a client secret, and store the tenant ID, client ID, and secret. Then we go to the Fabric admin portal and enable two important settings. Service principals must be allowed to use Fabric APIs, and they must also be allowed to access read-only admin APIs. These APIs are what FUAM uses to pull activity logs, metadata, and tenant-level insights. After that, we create a security group in Entra ID, add the service principal to it, and assign that group to the admin API settings. This ensures secure and controlled access. We also make sure that users can create Fabric items is enabled, because FUAM will automatically create pipelines, notebooks, and Lakehouse tables during deployment. Now that everything is ready, we move to deployment. We go to the GitHub repository and download the FUAM deployment notebook. This notebook contains all the logic needed to set everything up. It automates the creation of pipelines, connections, and data structures. We import that notebook into our Fabric workspace and open it. Once it's open, we simply run all the cells. This notebook takes care of everything behind the scenes. It creates connections, sets up pipelines, initializes the Lakehouse, and prepares the entire FUAM environment. Once the notebook finishes running, we go to Manage Connections and Gateways. We'll see two new connections created. These are used to connect to the Fabric and Power BI admin APIs. We open each connection and switch authentication to service principal. Then we paste the tenant ID, client ID, and client secret that we created earlier. We set the privacy level to organizational and save. Once both connections are configured and online, we go back to the workspace. Now we run the main FUAM pipeline. This is the pipeline that loads everything end to end. It pulls data from APIs, processes it, and loads it into the Lakehouse. When we open it, we'll see a parameter that controls how many days of data we want to load. For the initial run, we set it to around 28 to 30 days, so we get enough historical data. Then we run the pipeline. This step can take some time, usually around 30 minutes, because it's pulling a lot of metadata and activity data from your tenant. Once the pipeline completes, we refresh the FUAM semantic model, which is basically the data model behind the reports. Once that's done, we open the FUAM overview report. Now, since my tenant doesn't have a ton of data, a lot of visuals will look empty. So I'll use screenshots from the FUAM documentation to show what each page is meant to look like and how you would use it in a real environment. Let's start with the overview page. This is your high-level snapshot of the tenant. It brings together key signals like number of workspaces, users, activity levels, and capacity-related information. Think of this as your "how is everything doing overall" view. If something looks off at a high level, this is usually where you'll notice it first. Next, we have the activity overview views. These focus on what is actually happening inside the tenant. You can see different types of operations, trends over time, and which users are most active. This helps you understand usage patterns and identify spikes or unusual behavior. Then we move into more detailed activity exploration. This is where you can drill into specific operations, filter by user or time frame, and really understand what actions are being performed. This is especially useful when you're troubleshooting or auditing activity. Next, we look at report usage. These views show how reports are being consumed across your organization. You can quickly identify which reports are heavily used and which ones are barely touched. This helps with cleanup, optimization, and overall governance. The workspace and inventory views give you a full catalog of everything in your tenant. You can see datasets, reports, and other Fabric items along with ownership information. This helps answer a very simple but important question, which is what actually exists in my environment and who owns it. Then we have dataset and semantic model insights. These help you understand how your data models are being used, how often they're accessed, and how they connect to reports. This is useful for identifying redundancy or critical dependencies. The capacity-related views focus on how your Fabric capacity is being used. You can identify heavy workloads, understand resource distribution, and troubleshoot performance issues. This becomes really useful when things start slowing down or when you're trying to optimize costs. When you look at all of these together, you can see that FUAM is not just giving you dashboards. It's giving you a complete observability layer for your Fabric environment. Now, for day-to-day usage, you don't want to run this manually every time. So we go back to the main pipeline and configure a schedule. After the initial load, we reduce the data window to 1 or 2 days so that only incremental data is pulled. Then we set up a daily schedule, for example, early in the morning, so everything updates automatically. This turns FUAM into a continuously running monitoring system instead of a one-time setup. And with that, let's wrap this up. FUAM gives you a centralized way to monitor Microsoft Fabric using Fabric itself. It brings together activity, inventory, refresh telemetry, tenant settings, and performance insights into a single lakehouse and semantic model. And because it's built on Fabric, you're not limited to the out-of-the-box reports. You can extend it, customize it, and build your own monitoring solutions on top of it. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to Data Semantics 360. More deep dives into Microsoft Fabric and real-world data engineering scenarios are coming soon. See you in the next one.